Appreciate it. Do for today is come to
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
We are coaching for relevance with our master coach here who's helping bring freedom to potential. Randy Swaim joining us here. As you can see, he has many accolades. And boy, oh boy, he's just full of new knowledge each and every time I speak to him over the years and what he's doing, how he's so involved, and how he's helping so many individuals, corporations really better themselves in a sense. And just as the good, core-hearted person that he is. So tell us a little bit about who you are, Randy, and what we're doing.
Well, what we'll do here is, as you know, my background in my career has been in aviation and jets, and a lot of that's been military. Almost all of it's been military related up until about the last 20 years. But been teaching jet pilots. But I'm also a Marshall Goldsmith certified executive coach, and I'm also now a certified master level neuroplastician with the NPN Hub and the Institute for Organizational Neuroscience in Germany. And what that does is it brings how the brain works to connect with people and help them develop their teams so that they can be successful even in challenging situations. And I think you know this, but there's one concept that has been trademarked for me out of Washington, which is called organizational maneuverability. And it's, when you're leading your teams in situations and events and environments that don't simply fit rote academic answers, and being successful and all that. That's a real sort of function of what I'm all about. So, yeah.
And I really love, you always have something new to talk about each and every time. You're always so motivated and excited to help others. And I just want to ask you, at this time, because you're always helping people. Who helps you? You're just so kind. Who takes care of you, Randy? Come on, tell me.
Well, all I'll say is my life journey. A lot of people, none of us have ever had a perfect life journey. None of us have ever gone a whole lifetime without making some mistakes. But unlike a lot of people, I don't just complain about the mistakes. What I did is I learned from them. And I do have some friends, and I will say this, that because of the way I interact with them, not in just telling them what to do, no, I don't do that, but in the way you connect with people. And it's a key aspect of leadership that a lot of people don't fully realize, that when you're talking about leadership, it's about connecting with your people in such a way that they want to be connected with you and they want to follow you regardless of the circumstances, in essence. Not that you're going to do illegal or unethical things, no, but that people want to connect with you. And I'll tell you what, that's just a big part of my life right now. I'm amazed at how so many people seem to connect with me in very good ways, and so that just is what my life's like right now.
I love it. Well, sorry to sidetrack you. I know. I just like asking. Sorry. What did you want to speak about today? But we do appreciate you here all the time.
What I would do today, what I thought I would do today, is share one aviation related situation that happened yesterday.
Okay.
That people have probably heard about in the news. But then what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about a couple of aspects of it, but then I'm also going to bring it to a leadership perspective, and how sometimes leaders and your team has to make decisions, and give an insight with leaders that are listening and their teams as to what do they need to think differently about, what do they need to be ready for even ahead of time. And so that's what I thought I'd take it today.
Okay, well, let's do it. Thank you. Let's talk. What's happening? There's a lot in the news, I know.
Well, there totally is a lot, no two ways about it. But you probably remember from yesterday, it was in the news today, but there was a Southwest airliner that was going in to land at Chicago Midway Airport. Mm-hmm. And you remember there was a jet that I think they said was a Flexijet kind of thing that came on to the runway, and this airliner just immediately got airborne again, and started climbing. Exactly the right call.
Yeah.
And
Oh, goosebumps.
that's what I was going to share on this, because when you think about it, and I'm going to kind of mention it within this situation, but then I'm going to kind of bring it to a leadership perspective in a challenging environment or a challenging situation that
Yeah.
can arise. Um, and what happened is that I think it was a flex jet, uh, taxied onto the runway even without the approval of the ground control and stuff, is what I understand. I'm not an expert in it. I was not a witness to it, but that's what I've heard. So, but here's the thing: when you're talking about this airliner that's coming into land,
Mm-hmm.
and what happened was, as soon as he saw that airplane pull out onto the runway, the wheels had just touched the runway, but that quick, the pilot pushed the power back up again and got the airplane airborne and got it climbing up.
Oh
And
gosh.
that saved lives
Yeah.
in doing that. And the other thing about this, though, and if you think about this from that perspective, there's a lot of thinking that sometimes gets in people's way, and this is sort of a neuroscience aspect of it, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
But there's thinking that gets in the way sometimes. Sometimes when you land, and I'm not saying as a
Yeah.
pilot, I'm just saying as all of us.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to be aware of these things. In this specific case, as soon as the wheels touched the runway, and as soon as somebody saw that other airplane taxi out on the runway, one of the things that happens with a lot of people today is their whole brain goes into, "Oh, what? Look, look, look." And guess what? If you delay it that much, the airplane slows down and you cannot get it. It's going to take longer distance to get back up to a speed where it can take off and climb. And the bottom line is, when you have that kind of a delay
Yeah.
whatsoever with it,
Mm.
what you do is you can completely throw your ability to get back airborne in the trash,
Wow.
possibly. Or you can sit there and then, have it delayed where you can't do that, but now you're going to impact that airplane and kill people,
Mm.
and stuff like that. And so, but there's several things that can make that delay sort of happen. One is just that little delay in the thinking when you go, oh, whoa, 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 that kind of thing, which I've seen people do. Okay. And, but the other part of it too is where you're aware of the threat immediately, but you don't have clarity on which is your choice.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm thinking that, okay, I can get airborne again,
True.
but you know what? I don't know that I have enough runway to do it.
Uh,
Or you sit there and you say, well, you know what? I'm going to keep the power to idle and I'm going to try to come to a stop before I hit him.
mm-hmm.
And guess what? You
What?
may not be able to do that. And so there's a lot of factors that can come in when you have an unexpected factor that comes on scene like that. There's a lot of things that can get in your way in your thinking, or they can delay your thinking in such that you can't make the single right choice to get it airborne.
Got
And
it.
and so there's just a lot of aspects like that when you're talking about a situation like that you have to be aware of. And if you and this is just sort of the aviation picture
Yeah.
of it, but you know what? I can just about guarantee you, and I don't know who the Southwest captain was who was flying. I don't know, he'd have to get on and kind of witness to
Oh.
what he experienced and everything. But I will say this, that the fact that he made the right call that quick, immediately, without delay, he saved lives. And the point that I kind of throw out on that somewhat is that he made the right call. But you know what? To a certain extent, there are factors that were relating to that other airplane coming on the runway, and the distance and the weather and all of that kind of stuff, you
Oh.
know, that can make that the right decision. And and you got to, and some of that thinking has to happen not just on that one situation, but there's an aspect that leaders have to develop in their teams, because guess what? What if you were an instructor pilot for that company, Southwest, let's say,
Oh my gosh, yeah.
and a pilot that you trained had that and
Yeah.
not you? You
Ugh.
know, with the situation in your team in an organization,
Yeah.
guess what? You can have unexpected factors that come on a scene like that, and you know what? If
Yep.
everything is delayed, where you go, whoa, guess what? You can destroy what you're trying to accomplish.
Got it.
But
Wow.
but but
Yep.
also the other part of it is, are your teams, because there's a neuroscience processing aspect of this aspect. But here's the thing, on those kind of situations, generally the processing has to happen prior to it.
Yeah. Wow.
And one of the questions, and all the indications seem to suggest that this Southwest captain had gone through this in his mind even before that day. And the bottom line is, there's an aspect where you kind of have to go through it and think of it in terms of, well, okay, what kind of factors are going to make me make this choice versus this choice?
Mm-hmm.
And what factors cause those, either of those choices, to be the right choice for that moment?
Yes.
And have some of that thought process even before you get there.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know what, when you get there, guess what? The clarity of it is there immediately, because you didn't just get surprised all of a sudden and go, oh, kind of thing, or whatever. And but this is a critical aspect of it when you bring coaching, the leadership, the neuroscience, the strategic thinking into a point where you can make exactly the right choice in exactly the right moment. And the other part of it is, if you're not with your team and a situation arises, you know what? Have you developed them
Yep.
so that a similar situation that arises with unpredictable factors on it, they can make the right decision,
Ah.
even
Yep.
in the midst of a challenging situation like that? And so, and what happens so often in today's world is people have a tendency to just discover, just to kind of discuss certain things academically. Well, it should do this, you should do this. Well, wait a minute. That's not this exact situation. Because if that airplane taxied onto the runway immediately, that's one thing. If it taxied onto the runway 15 seconds after you were about ready to touch down, that can be another thing that can delay it and can change it. So not everything fits just a rote academic thing. And that's one thing that true leaders need to understand in terms of the mental processing and the neuroscience aspect of it, of really coming to grips with understanding that not only in a given situation that is unexpected, this is the right choice on it. Okay, but where's the boundaries on that? In your mind and in your processing ability, at what point would this be the other choice? And what does that look like? How would you know at the point of attack? And the bottom line of it is, when you get in there and you get some of that going, it gets really amazing, because then you say, okay, well, this is the one choice, this is the other choice. Where's that dividing line? How are you going to know when you've crossing the line correctly and at the right moment? And what are the things you'd have to be aware of that will help discover that? And so it's just something to think about when you're talking about leading your team in situations that are not, if all you're doing is just going to rote academic things, which a lot of people do, and they just say, well, this is the right answer because this is what it's supposed to be. Well, guess what? Not all the situations that happen are exactly what you would expect them to be. Can you make the right decision at the right instant in a challenging, unpredictable situation? And not just you as the leader, but what do you need to do? And one of the questions that I ask people a lot of times is, what do you need to do differently in leading your team to get their mental processing so that they don't just go with rote academic answers, but they have clarity on the facts at hand in a given situation, and they also have clarity on at what point that should change a little bit.
Wow.
Because what a lot of people today have a tendency to do is to just, if it goes apart from that, it's like, well, it should have been like this. You'd be surprised at how many people I've heard say that. And no, it wasn't like that. Sorry. And so what do you need to do instead of trying to make it fit some closed-minded academic thing? What do you need to do to be able to develop your team
Yeah.
for clarity on their vision of the actual situation and clarity on the right choice given the unexpected and unpredicted factors that are on scene right now? And so those are just some aspects that when you talk about leading your team, and it was a real good picture when I heard the news thing talk about that situation yesterday, that it's a good picture about what I'm talking about here. And it's, if as a leader, all you are doing is sitting there trying to make everybody just be dependent on you,
Oh, yeah.
which is what a lot of people try to do. What you have to understand is you are shutting down their processing. You're shutting down their ability to grow and become and make good decisions in the challenging situations. And you're putting them in a situation where, you know what, a lot more risk.
Yeah.
And so it's real interesting. That was a good picture relative to kind of what I'm talking about with the leadership aspect and everything. Because like I said, that captain, the Southwest captain, made exactly the right call. Because you know what? As soon as that airplane started to come out,
Yeah.
I mean, immediately, it was probably a few seconds later where the wheels were already on the runway, but a few seconds later, he actually got it airborne, and he flew over the top of that airplane and climbed up and continued climbing and stuff. Um, and um, and so that question, he wasn't distracted. And guess what? If your processing is running late or you're trying to figure it out at the point of attack, guess what? Very often that delays the factor.
Yeah.
And that can cause you, like in the case that they had, if he delayed it, as I mentioned, if he kind of went, whoa, 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 like this, kind of thing,
Yeah.
he delays it all. And guess what? He's probably going to impact and collide with that airplane. And so the captain of the Southwest, the pilot that was flying, he did amazing. He did exactly the right thing at the right instant. But it is a good picture of what you're talking about when you're talking about with you, the leader, if you're listening to this and you are the leader of your team, are you just telling your people what to do? Or are you truly connecting with them in such a way that they are developing so that they can make the right choice at the right time? Not just because of asking you about it, but because they're very much aware of the unexpected factors at the moment, and they're going to make the right call, and everybody's safe. And of course, obviously, everybody on both of those airplanes survived, because it didn't impact anything. But it's just something to think about when you're talking about leading your team in a challenging and unpredictable VUCA environment, kind of thing. And of course, that's where a lot of my thinking has been gone, just because of my military fighter experience and everything.
Well,
Because guess what? In fighter combat, you have to sort of be thinking that way a little bit. And that's what I became as soon as I got commissioned and went into the military and stuff. And and it was really good. But but it is interesting. You look at the people that are truly successful and really, way above everybody else. They're doing that. They've got that skill set to be able to do that. And you know what? to the extent that you are developing your team to be able to do that and to really make those right choices like that, at that point, that's where you have the opportunity to really make your organization, your team, your office, whatever, grow to reach
Wow.
radical results and all that. So it really is just kind of interesting. But that picture, like I said, of yesterday of
That
that
video.
airplane,
Oof.
it happened, and they've got some of the recorded video stuff out there. Just you know, 20 seconds of seeing that airplane come down and then go missed and stuff. Uh, his wheels touched the runway, but the captain made the right call, went and got it airborne again, kind of thing. And they've got a little like 20-second or so video out there on social media and stuff like that, so you can probably find it. But the bottom line on that is not just what the airplane did, but it's what the captain chose to do and why, given the circumstance. And it was exactly the right call in this case for that Southwest captain. And so it's just something to think about. That when you're talking about leading your team in a challenging environment, to what extent do you need to grow your team better? To what extent do you need to interact with them in such a way that their skills, their processing ability, their vision, their strategic vision and planning doesn't just come across and say, hey, here's what we want to do. That's not good enough.
Yeah.
How are you going to do that in the midst of challenging situations? And that's, as a leader, that's kind of where you got to have some of those conversations. It doesn't mean everybody's going to get the right answer right at the moment, but getting them processing it, getting them thinking about it so that they know what the right call is for a given situation. Because guess what? In a lot of places in our society and in the world today, you're going to have situations that are not just purely academic.
Yeah.
You'll have unexpected things that come on the scene. And can you handle that? Can your team really be successful? And it's just some insights on that. But like I said, when I saw that news on that airplane, it it really sort of illustrated that picture. And so I figured I'd bring it out and then bring it over into sort of the little bit of the military or the business leadership sort of aspect.
Wow.
But it's a very key point that a lot of people don't realize.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Also, there was that incident on the runway. Was that in Toronto? The Delta flight that, again, I'm not sure exactly what the conditions were. I know it was icy, right? And how it hit down, flipped, and how you saw videos of inside, how, let alone the pilot was able to handle it and control the plane still, thank goodness. And let
Yeah.
alone how the flight attendants responded, the quick action and thinking of all those people. A miracle they're alive, too.
Yeah, and you know what? And that's the key. Even in situations as you just implied, where guess what? It's not going to be a success of it's going to impact and it's going to crash because you cannot prevent it, perhaps. You know what? How are you going to make it so that even with the crash, the maximum number of people can survive it? And so, like you're saying there, when you're coming in on the weather and all that kind of stuff, and all that happens, kind of thing. What are you going to do? That's another aspect about it that can be thought about. What are you going to be able to do so that the risk to the number of people is more minimum than you would think, and it's just a key aspect about that a lot of people don't realize. But it is an example of even what you just said of how that thinking needs to be involved, and it's not something where you just go like this and go for the next 25 minutes. No, it's something where you can process it and gain an insight based on these factors and this situation, and you can make the right decision to have the best possible outcome. And that's what, when you're leading your team in a rapidly changing environment, not only do they have to do that, but here's the thing, they have to do that when you're not present.
Yeah.
It's not about making them just dictate to what you're telling them. That's not what it means. It means growing them to such a point where they can make those right decisions, even if you're not there, even if you're on vacation or whatever, kind of thing. And so, yeah, it's just something to think about that a lot of people don't realize. But that picture, that airline, and there have been several crashes, recently, kind of thing. And but it's a key factor when you're talking about aviation and pilots. But guess what? When you're talking about leading your team, guess what? A lot of those factors are still true and still applicable. And as a leader, how are you really doing that? And how are you really making it such that your team is becoming and growing, and not just going with your academic answers, but really being able to process the reality of the situation and make the right decision. And that's just something that people have to think about, and leaders have to think about. It's not just filling academic squares, but it's being able to really evaluate all that and see it all. And like I say, that picture of yesterday with that Southwest, that was just one little example that brought some of that out. So it's a key aspect when you're talking about this.
Well, thank you for sharing this and for going over this. And of course, the general, the bigger picture here about what we all need to start thinking about in our lives. And we could all act quickly, responsively, if you put the thought, the time, the effort into the training, and sometimes a little coaching can help that. And
that's right.
Strengthen your ability to react, to think faster, to be on your feet more. I mean, yeah, for sure. So I totally. Wow, I see I see the real relevance in this conversation. Of course.
Cool. Well, I'm glad. I'm glad.
Yes.
That's why it's coaching for relevance, I guess.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much, Randy. To wrap things up today, how did you want to leave off?
I'll just say this: that it's always a pleasure working with you and being on here with you, Jill. I appreciate you as a friend, and but also. People want to kind of check out Coaching for Relevance. It's my company. It's my website. They can go check it out if they want to. And also you can check me out on social media if you want to, and all that. So it's just, also if somebody wants to just have a conversation on my website, at the bottom of the front page, there's my email and also my cell phone number. I don't do sales pitches necessarily. If they have a need, we'll come up with something. But I just meet people, and I just look forward to getting to know people and having relationships. So
beautiful.
Yeah, that'll be cool.
Thank you so much. And again, coachingforrelevance.com. Randy, always a pleasure, and enjoy the rest of your day. And hopefully we will connect again soon. Great talking to you.
Sounds good. Well, I'll look forward to it. It's I hope you have a great one, and we'll see you soon, probably.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Randy.
Hi, this is Terry Crews, actor, former football player, game show host, father of 5, and all-around big dude. I'm also an expert on drama. I know all kinds of drama. There's the good kind that comes with having a house full of kids. There's the bad kind, like season-ending injuries. There's the necessary kind, like having an agent in Hollywood. And there's silly drama, like the drama around my percolating pectorals. And then there's the drama you can skip.
Skip the drama that comes with not having your high school diploma or equivalency. Find free adult education classes near you and finish your high school diploma. Visit finishyourdiploma.org.
Or text diploma to 97779. Message and data rates may apply. Reply STOP to opt out. That's diploma to 97779. And leave the drama to actors like me.
Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ed Council.